Hello, community in Alberto Villoldo's and the Four Winds Facebook Live. My name is Marcela Lobos, and I am so grateful to Alberto for allowing me this space to share with you about my new book, Awakening Your Inner Shaman, a woman's journey, a woman's journey of self-discovery through the medicine wheel. So you have been familiar working with Alberto and listening to him about the medicine wheel, going through the four directions, the south, the west, the north, and the east. And this is a journey of self-realization, realizing who we are in our essence. And this journey is so natural. One of my mentors, mystics, said to me once, it's as natural as planting flowers in our gardens or growing weeds in our fields. So it is, we have this instinct to become whole, to remember who we are. But the problem is that when we do not follow through on that journey and we become stuck. So along with the medicine wheel, with the four directions, I discovered that the hero's journey that Joseph Campbell made popular is not something that is relevant in mythology about superheroes 3,000, 2,000, 5,000 years ago, and in legends and in Hollywood today, but it is relevant for all of us because we all have the chance to go through that heroic journey. And again, the problem is when we get stuck in the beginning or in the middle. So we get stuck in the challenges and the trials and in the fear and in the denial, and we don't follow through because we are so afraid and so scared. So this hero's journey, it does fit within the medicine wheel, and I will actually tell you about the steps. I worked on bringing it to 13 steps. I call them milestones that we have to go through to be in that space of being in our passion, in our creativity, and then sharing those gifts with others, with the community. So we are part of life, of the web of life, and we are constructive to that web of life. So let me take you through. The first milestone is the call from spirit to go on that adventure, which really means to get out of the status quo that has us waking up and going through the day with an automatic pilot, just going through the motions, or living a life that is superficial, not connected to that deep creative aspect of ourselves. So we all have heard that calling, and it oftentimes is like a whisper. And then what happens is we don't listen because we are either very disempowered, like, okay, yes, I know I have to take better care of myself. I know there's a higher purpose in my life or a deeper purpose, but I don't know how to get there. I don't know who to ask, so I just keep going. So that whisper all the time is not a whisper anymore, but it can become an illness or it can become a crisis in our lives. So that's a second milestone, to be in denial, to be in that resistance. Maybe they think I'm crazy if I leave this job. Maybe I'll be blamed if I leave this relationship. Maybe I'll be judged if I start searching deep within myself when I should be working out there and paying the bills at the end of the month. So, but when we finally decide to go because we cannot take it any longer, this nonsense, superficial life, then the third milestone is auspicious synchronicities. We start getting the signs from the universe that we have made the right choice for us and for our loved ones and for the world, really. When we are in a good place, it benefits everyone. So we actually experienced like magic. And I'll tell you a little story. I remember when I decided to finally leave the toxic situation in which I was, and I had been super afraid because I was afraid to be a single mother with 2 children. I was afraid to go back to Chile, where I'm from. I was in the U.S. But nevertheless, I finally made the decision to go back home in Chile. And when I was at the airport in Atlanta in a layover, I ran into a woman whom I had known for 10 years. 10 years. I have seen her in the supermarket from the town where I came from. And I said hello to her every single week. We chatted, but I had never asked her name. And so this time, she told me she was going to Europe to claim the dream of her life. And I told her I was claiming my dream. And she said, so I asked her, so what is your name? And she said, Destiny. I could not believe it. Her name was Destiny. So we get synchronicities like that. I mean, signs that say, yes, bravo, you are in the right track. The 4th milestone is crossing the threshold to that place of deep transformation, to that cauldron of transformation, that place of alchemy. So in here is when we meet that gatekeeper, and there's a saying that states, when the pupil, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So we run into that figure that's going to open the door for us. And perhaps for some of you, Alberto could be that door. Every Friday, he's opening that gate to a place of transformation and of just transcendence. So we find that special gatekeeper. And for me, it was actually when I went to the jungle and I met the spirit of jaguar, of a black jaguar with green fluorescent eyes. And this spirit in ceremony jumped into my body and opened up the vision to see reality beyond what appears to be. So we keep going on the journey, and we start perceiving more subtle realities. We start perceiving the reality that is of spirit, of our soul. So we start realizing what is important for us. And in this way, we realize that we have to die to whom we have been in order to claim whom we want to become, because we can't become our most wonderful selves when we're carrying the chains of our past and we are carrying the limiting beliefs of our ancestors and of culture and of society. So I remember one of my students saying that for her was like, if you're struggling in the waters trying to swim against the current, and you're fighting and fighting, and all of a sudden you're tired, and you realize that you just surrender, and then you can float and the water carries you. So the most profound aspect of this milestone, now we're in milestone number 5, is that moment of surrendering. Just stop fighting and just let the shit hit the fan. So let everything go to where it needs to go. Don't try to juggle it and keep it. So that tension that we carry in our lives from trying to wear our masks and to fulfill our roles. And if one day we just say, okay, let everything fall where it needs to fall, and actually things come into place to where they really need to be. So I call this milestone the heart of the womb, because in a way, only when you deeply surrender and you allow the universe to keep expanding and the planets to keep rotating around the sun, and you stop trying to hold everything, and in that surrendering, you finally hear the pulse of life, of the feminine, of the earth again. And that is always there. So though it might feel like a void and I don't know what to do, when you finally release, let go, you feel the pulse again. So that's the moment of rebirth. And in this rebirth, it's like a butterfly coming out of its cocoon. The next milestone, number 6, is test and trials. That butterfly haven't tested its wings really until the storm comes, because it's really easy to fly when it's nice warm breeze in the Caribbean. But how about facing a storm? And we know what that is in our lives, to face these storms of other people's emotions or even our own emotions, and the big changes around that make us very anxious and all of that. So the tests and trials to really test the new wings, who we are at the deeper level. So we, in the cocoon, in the heart of the womb, we come to this knowing who we are really deep. Like when we finally surrender everything, okay, this is me now. This is my pulse. This is my heart. This is what is my true vital heart in my life, and I have to stay with that, even in the face of challenges. So we go through all the challenges like that with our most inner courage and certainty and intuition, our deep intuition. And after that comes the next milestone, which is meeting the goddess. So this is something we all have to do to realize our self with uppercase S, like the bigger self, that is not just a mom or a worker or a role in life, but it really recognizes all aspects of herself, from the most human bones and flesh to like the most divine. So here is when we meet the goddess as the feminine in its transcendental form, universal form, that is it's this primal consciousness that is available to everyone. But the feminine is not only the nurturing and embracing mother that gives us shelter and food every day and provides, and she's been so patient with us when we are extracting her minerals and extracting and taking from her again and again and again. She's also wrathful. She also gets tired. She also explodes. So she's the volcanoes, and she is nature in its most wrathful shape and form. And I remember working again in the jungle, and usually I had very beautiful, peaceful journeys with my students there, working with the medicine in the jungle, and the shamans there, the vegetalistas, doing ceremony and healing. And we always felt like the jungle was this warm cocoon, this womb. We all went there and experienced healing. But I remember of fear and anxiety, and the students were just seeing all their inner demons and most scary inner narratives, movies, and the feminine didn't come in that warm, embracing aspect, but she's kind of like, she unleashed her fury and let us be in our terror. Anyways, but for me, knowing the heart of the womb, then I knew she was still pulsating there for us. But then comes the next stage, which is the atonement with the father. And it's similar, but with the masculine now, because many of us grew up with an absent father, including myself, or a father that was not a provider. So the absent father, it took me forever to connect with the divine masculine. I was like, what God? I was really open to embrace and commune with the goddess and to pray with the goddess, because I didn't see God coming and embracing my mother when she was in the midst of her terrors when we were kids, or I never felt that embrace of the masculine until in my shamanic initiations, in this heroic journey. So forget about the masculine, it's never there. But that one time in the jungle, I found myself in my knees calling the Father. Great Father, great Spirit Father, come and hold and hold my brothers, hold my sisters in your sweet embrace, because the mother has gone mad. She's unleashing her fury. So then I was really yearning for that Father. And it was the first time I opened my heart to God. And then on another journey in Peru, in the Andes, I remember dreaming with the face of the mountain, a mountain that we have gone visit on a pilgrimage. And in the night, in the dream, it showed me its fatherly grandfather face and said, I will always protect you. So it was a beautiful communion, atonement with the Father. So anyways, what starts happening, we start realizing this masculine, this feminine, that's bigger than our mother and our biological father. So it's bigger than any person, than any human. It's just the primordial feminine and masculine. And the 9th milestone is apotheosis. So now we realize, we have an epiphany that we're also divine, that we are completely just whole already and divine. And for me, it was a moment in which my 2 sons have gone on their own back to the United States, and I was left at home a little bit sad and melancholic in Chile. And I went for a walk in the forest, and I, all of a sudden, with the beautiful light between the trees, I had an epiphany. This luminous being said, Marcela, stop carrying that cross, stop being a martyr and being hung on the cross. And I realized that I had not understood Christ's journey all the way, that in our Western or Christian mentality, sometimes we get stuck in the cross, in the martyrdom. But what the real message is resurrection. Is after the dark night of the soul, we have to resurrect into our light, as I have been saying. So that was the moment I stepped off the cross, and I wanted to really, I signed up to just realize my divine light and my divine potential. And after the apotheosis comes the 10th milestone, which is the ultimate boon. So along the journey, and these milestones do not happen necessarily in this order, but this is a default order. But it's really happening in many layers along our lives. And in the 11th default map, the 10th milestone is the ultimate boon. So at one point throughout the journey, we realize our divine gifts, something that it's also known as the elixir of life. So something that it can not just help us in our lives to feel vital and connected to just that primordial creativity, but it's something that can help others. So the next milestone is the refusal of the return. We're called to return home now from this adventure, and then it's not just so we go back to doing dishes and taking the garbage out, but it's so we can bring the sacred back to the day-to-day, the mundane. So in a way, when we have gone through this inner alchemy of meeting the goddess and the god and an apotheosis and realizing our deep gifts, now we bring it. It's not that we stay out there in vacation, in a holiday in the other side of the world on a beautiful island, but it's so we bring all this to where we know we have to be, that home, that community. Sometimes it's really the place where we grew up next to our biological families, but sometimes it's somewhere else. We find our new community, our spiritual brotherhood, sisterhood, and it's there that we are going to be sharing our gifts. So, but there's a refusal of the return for being afraid to lose the sacred, to go back to this nonsense routine. So I remember at one point hearing about this ashram near New York City, and many people live there for years, and they have this beautiful lady guru, and one day she just said, okay, enough. Now you go back home and share the Dharma, the wisdom. And she closed the ashram. So like that, okay, now go and bring this to your people. And that's when we could experience the next milestone, which is the magic flight. I remember my sister, when she was 17, left my home in Chile, and she told my mother she was just going to Bolivia and Peru, which is right across the border. But she kept going, and she kept going all the way to Mexico. Can you imagine? Peru, Bolivia, then Ecuador, Colombia, and then crossing Panama and all the Central American countries. And she, of course, had this alchemy, and she became a woman on her own 2 feet. From being this girl, the journey was like a rite of passage to her womanhood. And it took her a year, or just over a year. And when she arrived in Mexico, she thought of keep going. US, Canada, the continent keeps going. But when she arrived to the US Embassy and saw this huge building with like cement walls, when she had been in nature all along, and she saw lines of people trying to get a visa for the US, she got so discouraged, and she just knew that was the end of her journey and that she had to go back. So it took her over a year, and then in less than 24 hours, she had her ticket, and in 2 days she was back at home, and then in her new skin, in her new self. So that's how the magic flight is. When it's time to return, it happens so fast. I remember another lady in this journey of discovery far away in Asia, and learning from the lamas and meditating and discovering herself. She broke her leg and she needed surgery, so she flew back to Chile. And so in a way, what happened with the pandemic, all of a sudden it's like, okay, people, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, okay, stop now, go home, and who are you? And for some of us, it's like, wow, I still have to surrender. So we have all like having to come face to face to which stage of the journey we were at, and then just realizing that we have to keep peeling the layers to find that deep refuge in our own selves. And finally, after the magic flight, the 13 milestone, 13 for honoring the 13 moons of the year. The 13 milestone is to be at home in our center, in our hearts, with clear vision and with our sacred gifts. offering that to others. So that's why we are hero, the hero's journey, not because we did something great and now we stand on a pedestal and expect applause, but we are a hero or heroine or however you want to call yourself, because we have found the elixir of life that is, and we are not just drinking it ourselves, but we are sharing it, so helping others. So this is the same journey for the shaman who has to find that medicine within, not just what is out there, but most important, embodying the medicine, who we are as shamans, and what is our medicine, and how can I share it really, truly, without without so much condition. Like, so we're not in survival mode. Okay, I share medicine, but I'm always like looking into what I'm gonna get in return. No, it's like really arriving to this place of aini, as we say, reciprocity, flowing like a river. Like we share it, and as it comes through us and out, it comes into us. We get inspired, and we always know that abundance is all around. I hope this inspires you to continue on your shamanic hero's quest, or just your own journey towards realizing who you are at all levels, from mineral and water and the elements that ultimately belong to the earth, Mother Earth, and all the way to the divine self that is so expansive and infinite, and that we can all realize. So blessings, dear community, blessings on your journey, and thank you for listening. Goodbye. Oh, again, my book's name is Awakening Your Inner Shaman, and everything is in deep detail there, and rolling along with the medicine wheel, my story, and many other people's stories. I hope you enjoy it, and blessings again. And leave me a note. I'll be reading comments now. Thank you.